Hi, good afternoon. It's Beth. I've been thinking a lot lately about the way I communicate and the way my belief systems have been set up in my life, and the way that myself as a white woman, how I have experienced, have not had the same experience of people of color. And it's very apparent to me right now, with all of the protests and all of the uncovering of deeply rooted belief systems that have been in our country for many years, that it's time for me to take a closer look at those beliefs. And that involves having some risk, taking some risk. And so I wanted to talk a little bit today about what it is to take a risk and why it's important to take a risk, and what we miss out on when we don't take the time to take a risk and we get stuck in our old beliefs. Anais Nin, one of my favorite poets, writes a few things about risk, and I'm probably going to quote all three of them during this time on this Facebook Live. But the one that really speaks to me right now is, life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. So to me, risk taking is based on having courage. So you can choose to stay in a place of comfort and not testing or understanding yourself at a deeper level, or you can take a risk and ask those deep questions. I'm certainly questioning my own beliefs and my own ideas about what it is to be a white woman, and how I've contributed to the white supremacy, whether it be conscious or not, and getting really curious with myself and allowing myself to get curious with others is what is going to bring a deeper understanding. Something else that I really want to speak of as well is, I feel like there is so much divisiveness right now in what's going on in the world, and it's hard to have a conversation about it without either worrying that you're going to offend someone, or that you're going to get offended, or that you're going to need to defend yourself, or have a strong position. So it doesn't allow for that nuanced area in between where we're just in inquiry. I had, and I know, I had a beautiful conversation. I went on a social distanced walk with a dear friend yesterday. And during the walk, we had an opportunity to really come in and understand what was going on. Well, for me, I was asking some questions about, gosh, how did I not see that I had this belief? And it was specifically around noticing someone, and not identifying that person is an African American person. I had ideas about what it meant. And there were biases, and they were built into me, and it was kind of shameful to have to remember or realize that. And having the opportunity to kind of walk through it with someone, now granted, it was someone that I trusted and I knew probably has similar beliefs that I do. So it was not necessarily taking the risk of going to the person that I was speaking of and asking that question. Yet it prompted me to come on and take this risk and doing this Facebook Live today, because it's something that I feel is really important to me, to explain, and use this platform to explain in a deeper way. So when we take a risk, and it allows us to really get into the nooks and crannies of our beliefs. Sometimes it's not only a risk about talking with someone, it can be taking a physical risk. It can be, doing something you've never done before, and just noticing what it takes for you to get to that point of taking a risk. Is there something you can fall back on? A big aha for me is, in order to really take a risk, there has to be no safety net. So it has to be something that you can't really turn back on. And I think back in circumstances like that, when, for example, I drove myself across the country to move here to California. And sure, there could have been turning back, but it would have been really difficult. I had my life already set up out here, and it was a scary thing, and it was a risk for me to do, move so far away from my family. Yet I knew that it was going to provide a level of growth in me that I wouldn't have in any other way. So I really wanted to emphasize the importance, and it's the importance right now of taking risks and asking the tough questions of yourself, asking them of people that you care about, asking them of people who you probably know don't have the same views as you, to open a dialogue and come from a place of compassion for yourself and for the other person, and trying to find the middle ground in between. And this may sound like it's undoable, but yet if it were undoable, then how would we be this far along in our life? And how are we going to create the society that we want if we stay in this place of division? So I'm committed to continuing to take risks for myself and to be a voice for others, and an avenue, a resource for others to help them take risks. I recently started a women's online circle. It's called the Women's Inner Fire Circle. It meets every other week. I will post a little link on how you can get in touch with me and get signed up for it. It's a way for us to just come together and to start to explore some of these deeper questions and see what shows up for us. And I promised another, well, I didn't promise, but I realized that I didn't yet say my favorite quote by Anis Nin. And the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. So it was more painful to stay tight in a bud and tight and ingrained in your beliefs than it is to take the risk to blossom. So I just want you to really contemplate that and see places where you may be able to take risks in your life. And I have worked through this a lot in the work that I do. Hi, Michelle, thanks for the thumbs up on that. A lot of the work that I do is helping women really take risks in the second half of life and finding a way to engage in a way that brings out their authentic brilliance and breaks through all of the resistance that may have built up over the years. And through that, I've learned techniques and ways to really break down the risk-taking process and have some steps in there so that you can recognize when perhaps, hi Chrissy, love you too, you can recognize perhaps when you're, what the physical sensations are when you're coming into bumping up against something that triggers you, and what to do at that moment, or later going back and educating yourself more so that you have a stronger resilience and the ability to take on more. Chrissy, a dear friend of mine, just popped on, and it reminded me, because I know Chrissy is someone who's very dedicated to her physical well-being and to building her physical stamina, and has incredible power and strength. And part of that, as you may or may not be aware, is when you are building muscle, you're actually breaking things down. You're tearing apart the muscles so that they can build stronger. And that's the same as when you're breaking down beliefs. You have to tear it down a little bit, pull it apart, get into the real causes of any blocks that you may have to believing something differently, and then create trust in yourself and the rituals or the process that can take you through that risk and really become more authentic in who you are. So I appreciate you watching this video and coming on. And again, I will give information about my Women's Inner Fire Circle. Next meeting will be on July 6th at 2 p.m. I'm considering starting another group in the evening as well, if there is enough interest. So if that time doesn't work for you and you're still interested, please do get in contact anyway. So signing off for now, beautiful to be with you, and have a wonderful day.